compared to last year's Ole Miss team that surprised the league.
Nice drive, and Desi Sills has his first basket, the first field goal.
Your Gracky is absolutely
into the recipe. That helps that recipe for success. And how about the block on the three-point attempt?
And that is scouting report by Isaiah Joe.
And he hits the three.
And not scouting report by Henson. I mean, that is Isaiah Joe knowing together and played well at the same time as opposed to one game on, one game off.
Joe in the corner again. 10-2 lead for the Hawks. Well, here he is, the senior. Drops it off for the dunk for Sammy Hunter. So it took almost 6 minutes for Ole Miss to hit its first field goal. It's within 4. This is Joe with 2 triples already. On the drive now with 8 points.
That is the next step. It helps bring the team closer together, and this is a young, new team that needs it.
Not only Miller and Hunter as well on the move. Tyree wants it in transition and sticks it. That's the SEC's active scoring leader, has his first basket. Schuler on Jones. Great feed to Bailey. Got the eyes and the vision. Tyree. Oh, what a move.
Hello, hello, hello. It's the Wednesday edition of On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio as we come to you here on KDSJ 479, 1 to 2 p.m. each and every day. And real quick, want to make a quick note. We will not have a show tomorrow as we have a special sit-down with head coach Sam Pittman. And we'll have that Friday following we'll have our full sit-down segment with Coach Pittman. We're going to talk to Coach Pittman about a multitude of things that maybe our listeners and viewers want to find out, but we will not have a show tomorrow as we'll be out with a special interview with sit down with head coach Sam Pittman. So be tuning in on Friday as we'll have all that interview in its entirety following our Friday show after 2 p.m. You'll be able to catch that. Hogs on 3, Family on 6. It's called HO3FO6 with Sam Pittman. As you see the shirt, we're going to have all that going, and I'm going to bring in my producer, Demetrius Demigod Johnson. Pretty excited about what's about to take place on tomorrow, D.
Yeah, I get to be Spike D tomorrow, so I'm excited. I get to go in with my director's hat on, so I'm looking forward to it. Man,
and they starting to come with the questions already. Steve Armin is watching. Hey, Steve. Dennis Whitley. So which of the 3 quarterbacks might come to Arkansas? With that being said, I think he's meaning De'Aaron King, Felipe Franks, and Malik Hornsby, the 4-star high school young man that will be making his way for his official visit to Fayetteville. Not this weekend, but the weekend of the TCU game here in Fayetteville. Demetrius, which of the 3 do you think will be at Arkansas this time next season?
I still go back with King. I think that relationship that he and Bryce has is going to be something special. But I think just with what he fits and what he's going to see here at Arkansas, I think he's going to see, unless LSU somehow offers him and gets him to come down there. But I think Arkansas will be a good destination for him. He already has a history, like I said, with Art Briles. I think with the younger offensive line that we have coming in, is going to give him an opportunity to really get situated. So I think it could be something special with King.
I think De'Aaron King, Felipe Franks. I really think Arkansas will sign Malik Hornsby, as you all that get a chance to listen to our show each and every day. You kind of heard us mention weeks ago that would be a young man that you would really keep an eye on. And De'Aaron King was another young man that we felt here on the show that with the connection, direct connection, that while Browse was at Houston, De'Aaron, so I knew that was going to be the same thing. Hornsby on the same token. Pittman at Georgia recruited Malik, as well as at Florida State. Kendall Briles recruited Malik Hornsby and had been recruiting Malik Hornsby at his time at Houston, FAU, and then on to FSU. So that's going to be something that you keep an eye on. But Arkansas is in a really good situation, a really big weekend of visitors that will be making their way to the University of Arkansas this Friday. And what does that say, Demetrius, about Coach Pittman to be able to have so many 4- and 5-star, as 5-star offensive tackle, formerly committed to Georgia? Roderick Jones will be making his way as an official visitor this weekend to Fayetteville. Speak on just what these coaches are able to do so early in the process.
Yeah, I think it's not only the coaches, but I think it's just everything Arkansas has to offer as a state and as a program and as a business. When you look at it, I think it just offers so much, because even Sam Pittman, before the kids was coming in, he was talking about all the coaches that you couldn't imagine was inboxing his phone about having the opportunity to come coach at the University of Arkansas. So I think it's a combination of not only Sam Pittman, but what Arkansas offers as a state.
Derek Conway says he was working yesterday when we were talking about Franks, and he was a Florida quarterback, he was not the quarterback when Arkansas beat Florida a few years ago. Was not there at that time. I believe he came the following year in 16 when Arkansas had already won here in Fayetteville. So, to answer your question, Felipe was not on that team. Also, too, we got another question from, BC, Billy Wayne Carter. Do we pick up the 5-star OT that decommitted from Georgia? And he's referring to Roderick Jones, a young man out of Lithonia, Georgia, 6'5", about 305, offensive tackle, rated that I believe the 18th best high school recruit in all of high school football. So, in your opinion, Demetrius, do they get this done?
Yeah, I think it's the reason he decommitted. I think it's a reason he opened up his recruiting to come, to Arkansas. So I think in the back of his mind, there is a chance he'll come. Like, I think it's all on the vibe and the atmosphere that we create when he comes and visits Arkansas, and we make him feel at home. But I think just him taking the opportunity to already have a solid, offer from Georgia, that being one of the elite SEC teams in the East, and then turning down that or putting that scholarship on hold to come over here in Arkansas and take a look. He must have some high interest here.
I think with Sam Pittman, it just goes to show the effect that Sam has and the belief that so many offensive linemen have in Sam Pittman. I mean, when you look at this, when Sam came from Tennessee, who followed Sam? Reeve Kohler and Dan Skipper were committed to Tennessee, came to Arkansas. I can remember the same thing back in 2015. Arkansas had 3 young men. Chris Owens was one of the guys. We're going to come here, and when Sam left, those kids went other places. I know one of the offensive linemen ended up is playing right now with the Denver Broncos out of Snow Junior College. Was going to sign with Arkansas. He followed Sam and had a very, very successful career at Georgia. So you kind of from history know that Coach Pittman he's going to have 2 or 3 of those linemen that are going to follow Sam, as evidence. Ray Curry comes from Missouri to Arkansas to follow Brad Davis. You get Marcus Henderson. He, too, made an official visit from his relationship with Coach Davis there at Missouri, as well as Jalen St. Paul He's another big-time lineman that was recently committed to Missouri that will be on an official visit here at Arkansas this weekend. But I really feel like Arkansas has a really good chance with Broderick Jones. I think having Scott Fountain, who's so familiar with with the state of Georgia, and really Jimmy Smith, the running backs coach, was a very successful high school coach at Cedar Grove just recently as 2 years ago, maybe the best program in the state. Man was an athletic director in the Atlanta area. Widely respected throughout the state of Georgia. I think those factors, I think, will have a big impact on what this young man does. But I really would not be surprised if this young man became a Razorback. I know he's got an official to Georgia next weekend, and I believe he's going to be going to Auburn the following weekend of the 31st. But, right now, you have to like Arkansas's chances, because I've always felt with Arkansas, if you can just get them on campus, when the kids see that it's not anything like you imagine, that's going to give them their best chance to sign that young man. But we're going to step away, get us a real quick break. We'll let you see more of the highlights from this past weekend's game as Arkansas went to Oxford and had a big win, and then we're going to come back and attack more of your questions. This On the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479. Let's get it.
Tyree, there's the three. Example of that three-level scoring. We can do it from a little bit. Arkansas as having the 14th most efficient defense in the country. I'm a nerd for those numbers. I love them. But as you instead into Hinson's hands with 4 to shoot. Fading away, knocks it down.
I like that. All these other future NBA guys.
But I tell you, Glory, one of my favorites. This is Hinson for 3. Tyree blows by Witt. The two-hand jam. Joe, this is his range, by the way. And Arkansas goes into the break. Had a lead at one point, but down 6. So it's the Rebels. 26% shooting from the field. Now the Hogs finished that half 1 of 11 from the field. This is Bailey. Good reverse.
In a shared possession. Isaiah Joe comes off there looking to pass. See if you can't work some clock, find a better shot.
Oh, the takeaway. Jimmy Witt scores it.
You got to love that one. You can put your senior.
Oh, the follow slam from Witt. And now another possession for the Rebels. On the pull-up, Tyree leaves it short. Sills almost took it away from Buffin, but instead he's got a chance for 3. Harris, the North Carolina native, off the bench running the point.
Here with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio. Real quick, let's give a shout out to our sponsors. That being said, Lindsay and Associates with an office location in Fayetteville, an office location also too in Rogers, Locomotion, located just below the Northwest Arkansas Mall in Fayetteville. Corey Beck's Custom Painting, residential, commercial, anything that you want to look good, contact Corey Beck. And lastly, KDK's Chicken. It's at 989 Razorback Road. Catch up with Keith, Kathy, get your plate at love 'em like they say. It's not your mama's. Best chicken and waffles in the South. But we're going to go back to our questions as, like I said, you guys have awesome conversation with us. And I want to go back and I want to read a comment from Derek Conway, yet another top fan in D.C. Great comment. He says, it's going to be crazy this weekend on the Hill. Biggest game of the year. Absolutely. I mean, even tonight, the tickets are hard to come by. I really feel like this weekend, with it being such a big recruiting weekend, first weekend back in Fayetteville for the students, Coach Musselman and staff are going to have, I believe, 6 or 7 prospects make their way. Some committed, some signed, some uncommitted, some highly interested in the University of Arkansas. You got Diggy Vitale coming into Bud Walton Arena for the first time, I believe, in a long time. And hopefully Arkansas can take care of business. If this is a 14-2, 3-1 ball club, then I can only imagine, Demetrius, what this environment will be like in the whole city of Fayetteville, which, when you think about this, Demetrius, wouldn't you think it would help Sam with the football recruiting and also those uncommitted 21 and 22 young men in basketball that are going to be coming down? Don't you think this crowd has a chance to have an impact in how these kids look at Arkansas when they leave Fayetteville?
Absolutely, because it's only a piece. You know, how many seats does Bud Walton have?
19,200.
So you times that by 5, and that's what you have. 4 or 5, and that's what you have on a football setting. So I think when you have football players coming to Bud Walton and get the energy, and you feel that building rocking when exciting play happens.
Right.
I think it's gonna run a great feeling through their body, and they're gonna just transcend that over to football. And I think they're really gonna feel special, because I think when Arkansas is winning, it can be a special place. When they're doing Woo Pig Suey.
Right.
It's special. It's nothing like it. It takes some getting used to, but you understand there's so much tradition and rich history, especially in basketball.
Also, Deason says he hopes Arkansas doesn't overlook tonight's game. I don't think they will. I think Coach Musselman has done a great job of keeping these guys locked in to the game right at hand. Not games before, but the next game. And I think that's what you're starting to see with this team, the maturity level. When you don't look ahead and you go game by game, that's when you have the better results. So I don't think Arkansas is going to, be kind of out of sorts tonight. I think there's going to be a very festive crowd. I think the student section is going to be, in a very, very good mood. And I think these young men are going to feed off the crowd tonight, and Arkansas should handily win this game. Also, too, want to give a question. Terry Roy. Demetrius, I'm talking about these questions are on fire. Terry asks, has Arkansas signed any more running backs so far? No, not to this point, but they have a big-time running back coming in this weekend. Ebony Jackson is a young man, 6'1", I believe, 220 pounds, out of the Georgia area, that's going to be making his way on the campus. Now, they did sign Dominique Jackson, a young man out of Crockett, Texas. Big-time guy, 6'1", 200 pounds. No, 220, that was committed to Missouri, flipped to Arkansas. I think what you're going to see with this staff is you're going to see a lot of bigger running backs. I think you're going to see a mixture of, some scat backs, some running backs. It's going to be different, I believe, how they're going to recruit at that position under Sam Pittman going forward. So they have not, Mr. Roy, signed a running back right now. They did sign one in the early period, and they're looking to, I believe, add at least one more in this period. Ebony Jackson will be a young man, as I said, who's going to be taking his official visit here at the University of Arkansas. So great question, Mr. Roy. The recruits that will make a visit, this is Billy Wayne Carter, to the Hill this weekend, will they go to the Kentucky game? Yes, they will. There's a designated section that they will be sitting at right behind or right above the student section, kind of in that student section. Parents, coaches, and the recruits will all be sitting there. It always seems they come in really about 5 to 6 minutes in the ball game through the same tunnel that the basketball team comes out of, kind of let the whole entire fan base in the stadium know that they're there, right? They walk right in front of the student section and go to their seats. So that's going to be a very festive environment as well when those kids come into Bud Walton Arena. But they will be at the Kentucky game. I know, Sam's going to make sure that those kids get in front of 19,200 screaming Hog fans. And like Demetrius said, I agree with him 100%. That Woo Pig Suey is a chant that's very unique. Not a lot of people understand. If you're never been to Arkansas and you hear that on the TV, you don't know what they're saying. Kind of like the Jayhawk call at Kansas with the Rock Talk Jayhawk KU. For the longest, I could never understand what they were saying. So it's one of those unique collegiate calls that you don't get to hear a lot of. And I think once you hear that with 19-2 going crazy and just in unison, that's real big. And it's something that I think a lot of kids really take to heart. And they said, DC said, great question, Terry, but I don't think Kentucky is the make or break game for us. I don't either. I think this is going to be just another game. Let's face it, this team is going to lose more than one conference game. Let's be honest about that. They will lose more than one conference game, but I don't think they're going to lose too many. I still got this team anywhere from 3rd to 6th in the league. I think they're going to make a run and be kind of the dark horse in this entire SEC race. But I still say they're only going to be as good as they defend and rebound and really piece it together outside of Mason Jones and Isaiah Joe. Get contributions continuously from Jimmy Witt, Desi Seals, and I think, each and every time you're going to have to get something out of your bigs to have your best chance to, really, really do good in the SEC. So, real great question, DC. Billy Wayne Carter, I think the Hogs will beat Kentucky 77-71. Demetrius, he's picking the Hogs on Saturday.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a close game. I think, this isn't one of Calipari's better Kentucky teams. So I think when you look at what Musselman has and the way these Hogs been playing, I think it's going to be a very, very competitive game. I just think it's determined on how Arkansas comes out.
Right.
I think, they're going to they determine who wins or loses this game. I don't think Kentucky is really in control of this game. I think with it being at Bud Walton, with the run and the type of momentum Arkansas has, it's their game to lose. I don't think it's Kentucky's game to win.
And that question was, Terry, if Arkansas doesn't beat Kentucky, do y'all think it will make the difference between them going to the big dance or the NIT? Absolutely not. I think it's just going to be another game. I really feel like this team is going to do quite well. I had a chance to watch this team last year, and it was a very hard season because they were so young. But this team should have been a 23-win team and lost about 4 games. You have to remember, this team was beaten by 2 or 3 points at Texas Tech. They went on to be NCAA runner-up. This team should have beaten Kentucky, lost by 4 at Kentucky. And there was a lot of situations. You talk about the Western Kentucky game here in Fayetteville. I believe the LSU game, there were several games that they just couldn't figure it out. And this team seems to have a lot more poise and maturity. And they're winning some of the games that they didn't. They weren't as fortunate last year to win. So great question, Mr. Roy. Keep them coming. Who else we got? Derek Conway. Once again, DC, he's just rolling them off, D. Kentucky better get a great recruiting class this year or we could pass them up. They have a great class coming in. I think right now they're currently number 1 or 2 in the recruiting class. Arkansas sits at number 5. But I think, what's going to start taking place is the Arkansas-Kentucky game is kind of going to go back to what it used to be with the Todd Day, Lee Mayberry era when they were playing Mashburn and those guys, Travis Ford, and then when it translated to Bud Walton Arena, Scotty Thurman, Corliss Williamson, they were able to play the Walkers and those type of guys in Bud Walton. And I think that's what Arkansas is about to get to. I'm really excited, Demetrius, to see Coach Musselman versus Coach Calipari this upcoming weekend, to see, them match wits, 2 former NBA coaches that are highly thought of in the collegiate and in the professional ranks as a coach, just in general. So I'm really excited to see that matchup for the most part. But I think this is going to be getting back to the old days where I know Kentucky's going to continue to recruit at a high level, but, when you have guys like Musselman, Mosier, Crutchfield, and Williams, they're going to be able to recruit at a high level as well. I truly believe. Billy Wayne Carter, how good this team would be if we had Big Nasty at Demetrius, how good could they be if you had the Big Nasty? Unreal. That was a different beast.
Yeah, he's I'm glad, most people would have said Dan
That's
Gafford,
like putting Hercules on the court with Pee Wee Herman.
I think it would be dominant, they could play inside out,
Right.
It just would be just dominant, I think Isaiah Joe would be open all the time. So because, Big Nasty, you had to double team him. So that would have been a Final Four team.
Oh, my goodness. You're not kidding. I just think for those that, like myself, that grew up and had a chance to watch the Big Nasty work in the paint with Dwight Stewart, and Darnell Robinson, Lee Wilson, and those guys, that was quite an inside game in Corliss for the ability to be so nimble and be able to run and carry the 245 to 260 pounds that he was able to carry at 6'7" for 3 years here at Arkansas. It was just incredible to watch. But if he was on this team, it would definitely not be fair at all, I want to say. Now, Derek's back again. Well, we'll be undefeated. Yeah, you would be undefeated. Absolutely. I don't think they lose a game if he's on the court. I mean, this team is just 6 points away at the moment from being an undefeated 15-0 ball club. I think a lot of people, around the country really are starting to take notice of this Razorback basketball program under Eric Musselman and that staff that he has, assembled, which I think is one of the better staffs that Arkansas has had in quite some time. Coach A had a great one. Coach Richardson, that goes without saying. And I won't even say, Stan Heath, his staff wasn't too shabby. Now, some might, disagree, but he was able to bring in the guy likes of Lou Famatimi, Charles Thomas, Ronnie Brewer, Darian Towns. I mean, so he was responsible. The young man from West Memphis. It'll come to me. But he brought in some ballers. Let's be honest about that for sure. Hale and Dylan, what do you think gameplay will be like next year with the high-level recruit class this year? I'll let you answer that question, Demetrius. What do you think the football will be like as far as competition level with the way Sam's starting to recruit next year?
I think even without, any newcomers, I think just the mindset Sam is going to bring is going to be a level of competition. And Sam understands we weren't a good football program last year. He came out and flat said it. We weren't good last year.
Right.
There's a lot of things that those guys are going to have to go out there and get better on to really be competitive in the SEC, because it's only getting better and you're only seeing a bigger brand come out with all these coaches coming to the SEC.
Right.
So, again, I think it's going to be an elite. This is going to be one of Sam Pittman's more aggressive off seasons. With this being his first year, he's definitely going to establish himself as a coach.
Right.
He's definitely going to establish his culture, and with that, you have to be very stern and hard on players your first year. So you're going to see him kind of be an a-hole the first year, because he's going to have to really establish himself and let guys know, hey, I'm not here to play. This is a business, and I have a agenda here. I think with Sam saying, hey, I don't need a buyout. I plan on being here for a while. So I think there's certain things that he has to get established in his first or second year, and I think he's just going to be it's just going to be a high level of intensity and competitiveness throughout the year.
I think Arkansas will be an aggressive football team, and I think what will stand out throughout the entire year is the physicality in which they play. I think this will be a more physical team. I think it's going to be a bigger team on both lines of scrimmages. I think that we're going to see a very, very vastly different offensive line than what we saw this past year. I can go as far as I think there may be a couple of true freshmen make their way in. If you can sign Roderick Jones and you can get Jalen St. Paul and you already have Ray Curry and maybe a Marcus Henderson, I mean, you're talking about guys that can be an instant impact for this program. You got guys, Andy Boykin is a defensive lineman out of Troop in LaGrange, Georgia, that'll be making his official visit at 6'4", 295 pounds. On the 31st, he'll be in at Fayetteville, and he's a big-time defensive tackle. So Arkansas, I think, will be a lot better because there's going to be an improvement on the line of scrimmage. And we know in the SEC, Demetrius and I, we hear it all the time at SEC Media Day. It's a line of scrimmage league, and that is vastly, vastly true. When you look at the way football goes, LSU controlled the line of scrimmage on Monday night versus Clemson, bar none. Joe Burrow had all day to pass. And then on the flip side, Trevor Lawrence spent most of his time under duress, 15 overthrows, which that's not something that you see that young man do quite often. So I think, it's a line of scrimmage lead. When you got, as Coach Pittman says, and I like to refer to that, those dudes, then you're able to do a lot more. So I think that's going to be the biggest improvement that you see from this football team in the 2020 season is the size and physicalness on both lines of scrimmage. I'm really excited to see. Thanks for the question. Terry Roy, Sam, and Coach Jennings and Coach Singleton were the reason all of the 2016 class came to Arkansas. Elaborate on that, Demetrius. And I totally agree. I think Coach Pittman played a huge role in that 16 class. Like I said, I go back to Isaiah Simmons had the former coach prior to Chad Morris done what I anticipated and offered Isaiah. I think Arkansas would have had Isaiah. Imagine that, Demetrius. Isaiah Simmons and Dre Greenlaw at the same linebacker core for at least 2 to 3 years. Could you imagine what that would have been like?
I even go ahead and throw Scooter in there.
And Scooter.
You throw Scooter in there. I think there you have a solid defense, and And let's not even, fathom what guys would have came because of the type of team we would have already had with those 3 elite players. So, I mean, it's crazy with the what-if game we could have had because there were so many great players, Jacobs. There were so many players you can name through that stint of the last, 2 or 3 coaches that if Arkansas would have did this, we could have been a great team. So,
also, too, we got another great question. Derek Conway again. Think we'll be more of a spread team than people think. I really think Arkansas is going to be a balanced team. I think the word spread kind of gets kind of blown out of proportion. I think if you look at the Baylor offenses under Coach Browse, and then you look at Florida Atlantic under Coach Browse, and even to a certain degree, you look at the Florida State offenses under Coach Browse. I mean, the running back Singletary that's at Buffalo had a great year when they were 11-3 under Coach Kendall Browse. And then Jermichael Hasty, a young man that was at Baylor. Look at all those 1,000-yard running backs. And, the way that the balance, I think, is what you're really going to see. I think the spread offense is, I'm really excited to see how he'll use Traylon and Trey and Mike Woods and Corlin Jackson and all those illustrious, those big-time wide receivers, and then the tight ends and the running backs. I think it's going to be something that Arkansas is really going to be good at. But I've always said for Arkansas to be good offensively, they have to be very balanced. And I think that's really something a lot of teams strive for is balance, 250 or 220 both ways. And I think that's what you'll see with Arkansas. I think there will be a lot more spread. But spread, really affects when you can increase the speed, and I think that's what Arkansas is really going to try to do in this recruiting class is get faster and get a lot more playmakers. And they have the possibility. Savion Williams is another guy that will be here on an official visit that was previously committed to the former staff that Arkansas is trying to convince to get back in the fold, who played a little quarterback the latter part of his senior year this year. So he's another guy, and guy Moochie Dixon, Kelvonte Dixon, brother of Keontae Ingram, running back at Texas, will be also too in Fayetteville this weekend for his official visit with the brand new staff. So if you can get those type of guys, those are playmakers, big time. Now, but what do you think, Demetrius, on that question? And the question was about Sam and the 2016 class.
I like I said, I alluded to that a second ago with so many guys that Sam could have brought here, during that stint, from 2016 when Brett was here. There were so many guys that they had the opportunity to get that just didn't, back them.
And I get your question. Yeah, Derek, I think you will see a lot of RPOs. That's the one thing that Coach Pittman did mention in his press conference. He's going to be an RPO guy. And if you watch Derek King under Coach Browse at Houston, quite the RPO game there. And even a little bit, this year with the Florida State quarterback, and even at FAU. I think RPO is something that a lot of college coaches are trying to get to. As evidence, you look at Joe Burrow, LSU ran a lot of the RPO, as did Clemson. Alabama runs the RPO, as does Auburn. So Arkansas, you will see a lot of the spread in RPO game. They're going to have more quarterbacks that can run. If KJ would be a great RPO guy. If you get Felipe Franks or Derek King or Malik Hornsby, and even a Jack Lindsey has shown that he has some scramble ability, and John Stephen Jones as well. So you're definitely going to see a lot of different variations in that spread that Arkansas, I think, will be able to use to their advantage.
Absolutely. That's why, like I said, I've been hollering about Derek King. I think with Felipe Franks, with him coming off a leg injury, I think with the RPO, you're uncertain about his longevity, about how – and the efficiency of running that RPO with a guy like Felipe. I think he would be a good addition from a leadership standpoint. But
Terry Roy says, do you think Arkansas will be under center?
I think there'll be packages. Even Sam Pittman came out and said that. He said, I'm not getting away from guys getting under center, but our priority in our package offense will be out of the RPO. But there'll be times where we do line up and get a full set and a heavy set where there's 2 running backs or maybe even a fullback, because there are certain instances that you need that. But like I said, he said the base package will definitely be that.
Man, I'm talking about these people who shoot them out. Billy Wayne Carter, B-Dub. Great question. Who will be the starting quarterback? I'll let you handle that, and then I'll attack it. Who you think's going to be the starting
I think
quarterback?
it just depends on who you have. Hey, how about guys do this? Give us who, if such and such was on the team, so we can kind of understand what the roster consists of. Because if I'm going based off of what's on the roster right now, I'm going,
KJ, no question.
KJ, absolutely. I think with what he has and what I think Art Browse can show him during this offseason, I'm not saying he's going to have a Joe Burrow year, but you will see a great increase in his production and the type of quarterback and his efficiency. So,
Nick Lee wants us to ask in our sit down with Sam about Brett Bielema. I may do that for you, Nick. Get the insight on that. I may do that. We'll see how the interview's going, and I'll definitely. That's a great question. That I might throw that in there for you. And if you have any more questions that you want to send in, and we'll sift through the best ones to ask Sam. Send them in. We'll look them over, and then we'll pick about 5 or 6 good questions from our listeners and viewers to present to Coach Pittman in our sit down. But want to make a note, tomorrow we will not have a show as we have a scheduled one-on-one sit down with the head hog, the pit boss, Sam Pittman. But we'll be back on Friday. And following our show on Friday, we'll have the full interview, sit down with Coach Sam Pittman following our show, as we'll have a live watch party. And you guys will get a chance to hear all of what Coach Pitt had to tell OTH in our sit down. We're really looking forward to that. And I want to say my producer does all the editing, Demetrius. He's the best in the business. So anything that you see, the guy puts a lot of work into it. I totally appreciate what he does. He's the best. As Coach Pittman said, he one of them dudes when it comes to editing things. So be sure to be on the lookout. We will play it. I believe it'll come on at 2:15 or 2:30, Demetrius. What time do you think we're going to have that on? We'll go 2:30 on Friday. You can catch that sit down in its entirety. And like I said, it's going to be one I think you want to listen to. We'll get Sam to talk, but send in questions. From now until tomorrow, we'll sift through. You can send them in to On the Hill Sports Talk. That's our Facebook page. If you have any questions that you want us to ask Coach Pittman in tomorrow's sit down, we'll definitely try to get in as many as we can with some of the topics that we want to talk about as well. Derek's on it. Derek is on it. Okay. Donnie A. Butts, we got to read this one. What do y'all think is wrong with Reggie Chaney? Just maturity. I think that's all it is, just maturity. Not everybody matures at the same time when they get to the collegiate level, but I know that Coach Musselman and that staff are not going to give up on Reggie. Yes, they were very disappointed with the technical last week, and I think they've addressed that. I look for Reggie to get quite a bit of playing time. Reggie's just Reggie's worst enemy. And like I said, it's just maturity. If he can get out of his own way and accept all of the coaching and love that he's getting from this coaching staff, I think Reggie still has a chance to be one of the elite players here at the university. I've always liked him. I love his athletic ability at 6'8". The young man has the ability to guard all 5 spots. I think Arkansas is really good when they're in their 1-3 run trap, and Reggie's at the top. Creates a lot of problems for the opposing team's point guard. So I just think that's all it is, a maturity thing, and he'll get it. He'll definitely get it, I believe. Demetrius, what do you think's wrong with it?
I think he's just adjusting to his role. I think when he initially came to Arkansas, I think he saw himself as a starter and really getting a lot of clock. But I think now, with Mike Anderson leaving and him having to really kind of recreate himself within Musselman's offense and his identity, I think he's just having a little trouble adjusting to what it is that he has to do on and off the court, because with new head coaches, you have different level of or different standard, what Mike Anderson tolerated, Musselman may not. So I think, again, there's just a certain level of adjustment going from program to program.
Nick also says he wants to know why he left his dream job. We'll ask that question. That's a very good question. As I got a little insight on that, and we'll talk to Sam about his dream job. We'll let you tell him what he'll tell you what his dream job is going to be. So great question, Nick. I will make a note of that. Derek Conway says King or KJ, in my opinion. If King comes to Arkansas, he'll be the one of those two. I believe the quarterback position, the one thing I'll be able to say without a shadow of a doubt, is whomever the quarterback is here at Arkansas is going to earn it, because the talent level is about to get ramped up at a high level. It will be iron sharpening iron. So I think Coach Browse and that offensive staff, Coach Pittman and those guys, whoever starts will know it in the spring. It's not going to be one of those things where week to week like we had with Coach Morris not knowing. I think that quarterback will be named in the spring, and then they'll start working. But I just don't. You just don't know. I'm kind of like Demetrius. He made a great point. We don't know who's going to sign. It could be Derek King. It could be Malik Hornsby. It could be Felipe Franks. Just not knowing what the quarterback room is going to look like until after that first Wednesday in February. And then I think you'll have a more clear picture as to the options that you might have. But great questions that you guys are sending in. Who else we got? Jefferson starts regardless. That's Terry Roy. Hey, I'm not going to be so easy to give that to Jefferson. I think if you get Felipe or Derek King, or you can get a Malik Hornsby I think it's going to be not as easy as you would think, but that's good for a football team going forward when things have to be earned and they're not just given to you. That's what makes great ball clubs. What do y'all think? Okay, we got that one. Ask Pittman. This is from BWC, Billy Wayne Carter. Ask Pittman, where do you see your football program in 3 years? Where do you see this program in 3 years? I think they're going to be off and running. I think this team is going to be an 8-win or more team by year 3 under Sam Pittman, because then you're going to have 2 full years of evaluation and recruiting classes to bring in. You have to think in year 3, this freshman class is going to be juniors or seniors in year 3. A lot of maturity. This was a highly ranked class in itself, top 25 class. So if you can keep the majority of this class together, you have to think in year 3 it's going to be a very trending upward program. Demetrius, where do you see him in 3 years?
I think it could be something special. I think it'll be Arkansas will be right at that middle tier pack. Kind of making its way to anywhere between 3 to 5.
Right.
And I'm talking about overall in the SEC. I'm not just talking the West. I think they'll be anywhere between 3 to 5 as the top teams in the SEC. So I think that'll be pretty good from where Arkansas is, and I think from there they're going to be up. Then I think it just goes on to who gets the best kids, because everything will be kind of in place for Sam Pittman as far as culture and what he expects from the players, and you'll start seeing a lot more player-driven teams, and where all he has to do is go out and recruit and win games.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you. I think recruiters, the recruiters that Sam surrounded himself with in the areas that they need to have big-time presence, he's been able to address that. Plus, Sam's a big-time recruiter, and I think if your head coach is one of the elite recruiters on the staff, then that's going to be real tough. Look at Ed Orgeron. Ed's a closer. You don't think it's hard for those Louisiana kids or kids that LSU's after when they meet Coach O, and it's going to be even harder now that Coach O has that national championship. But a lot's going to be taking place. I really feel like Coach Pittman will be able to get some of the elite talent in all of college football. So I anticipate by year 3, this program should be anywhere from 8 to a 10-win program, with no doubt. I have no doubt in my mind. I tell a lot of people out and about town, I felt the same way when I left Sam Pittman's press conference as I did when I left Eric Musselman's, and several years ago when I left Mike Neighbors. You just know that things are going to start turning around, and Arkansas is going to start being real relevant in the college football world. That's for sure. Terry says he wishes the staff was here last year. Says Terry Roy. Derek Conway. He says Arkansas top 25 in 3 years. Nick says he thinks Arkansas year 2 will be an 8-win team. Nick Lee. Billy Wayne Carter says next year 6-6, second year 8-4, third year 10-2. BWC loves it, don't he? I mean, great question. Is that something, Deacon, that you can see? And then Terry Roy says, I'm glad the dream Arkansas had the last 2 years is over. Ooh. Man, that was the lowest point. It all goes back to the lack of recruiting on the line of scrimmage. Particularly the offensive line. I thought Coach Kurt Anderson did a horrible job with bringing in talent, did a horrible job developing that talent. And, but I do think the staff here at Arkansas right now, as Coach Pittman stated, and that's why I know he gets it, is Coach Pittman in his opening statement said you got to recruit yourself out of this. And I think he's going to be able to do. I think he's going to be able to do that quite well and do it at a high clip. These are some stud recruiters that he brought on to his staff, and I think within 2 years, the University of Arkansas and the entire state of Arkansas will be really, really proud of their program going forward. But that's going to wrap it up today for us here on the Hill. Thanks for all the great questions. Once again, want to make a note. We will not have a show tomorrow. At 1 o'clock, we are scheduled for a sit-down with head hog Sam Pittman, and we'll have that for you following our A show on Friday. We'll be back from 1 to 2, and at 2:30 on Friday, you'll get the HO3FO6. That stands for Hogs on 3, Family on 6 with head coach Sam Pittman. We'll give you his sit-down and everything that we talk about with Coach Pittman. You'll get a chance to see that live at 2:30 on Friday following our A presentation. That sound about right, D? Did I do it? Did I do it justice? Awesome. Well, that's going to do it. I want to give a shout out before we get out of here to our sponsors, that being Lindsay and Associates with an office location in Fayetteville and also an office location in Rogers. Locomotion, located just below the Northwest Arkansas Mall in Fayetteville. Corey Best Custom Painting and KDK's Chicken. Also, too, want to make a note, Arkansas will be taking on the Vanderbilt Commodores, coached by Jerry Stackhouse, tonight, 7:30 tip-off. That game will be televised on the SEC Network. I'll be in attendance. We'll have all post-game interviews, everything that you need to know following the game, maybe even something leading up to the game. Not for sure, but we're going to get out of here. From my producer, Demetrius Johnson, and myself to you all, you guys have a blessed one. It's On the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479. Let's get it.
To Joe, they connect the three. Got it! It's a 2-point game. And there's a foul, it looked like underneath. Ole Miss defends him well and forced a error to look for Jones. Schuler, blocked. Bailey, it's Buffett, and he sticks it back. Here's Joe, leans in, and he's got another.
That's it. I've been so impressed. Twice now in this
53 combined points between Tyree and Joe this afternoon. Here's Sills, and a timely make. Tied up at 68. Steal by Isaiah Joe. All the way, he has 31.
This is scouting right here. He's got the mismatch on Bailey. Wants to take him one-on-one. Joe leaves his man. Double. Says somebody's going to beat us besides Tyree. And there he goes. What has been the story of Arkansas season? They dominate the turnover margin, and they convert them into points. That's exactly
Tries
what
to get
Isaiah
to
Joe
13-2. It would be its best start in 5 years. 76-72.
How clutch is that? Forget the percentages, forget the shot style, just goes up there and makes it.
Tyree wants the three. Off the mark. Ball tipped around. Arkansas steamrolls back. Down by as many as 11 in the second half. And it wins at 76-72. Bouncing back from the loss on Wednesday.
Unbelievable. This Arkansas team is so resilient. They've got star power. They've got shooters. They've got defense. Most importantly, they have a will to win. There's not a team in the conference right now playing harder or having more fun doing it than the Arkansas Razorbacks. So
I'm in Amsterdam, which is without a doubt the cannabis capital of the world. And that's because of the enormous, almost unbelievable